Good morning, two people.
Hey, good morning, Rob. I'll just, hey, here I
Hey,
am. So I actually have a gal from Old Republic Title who's going to come over and go through some stuff, Suzanne. And so I may have to blow out a little early.
all good. All good. Let me see. We're getting ready. I think I can log in here. Just give me a second, guys. I'm going to see if I can get myself more privileges here. Here's, so if I go to Zoom and we'll get started in just a minute, guys. They did not give me screen sharing privileges, so I have their password, so I'm logging in so I can get that real quick. It's not fun being a teacher without screen sharing privileges. Let's see. Yes. Interesting. October 4th. Oh man. I think we're gonna have to wing it. There's not an occurrence for this, and I am not the host. Okay. We'll do our best. Do you guys all have the student book? Either say yes, hit me in the chat. So let me know you
I am
exist.
totally unprepared. I'm sorry.
Don't worry about it. I have this ability where I can actually upload it to give it to you guys.
Well, yeah, and it's on the intranet, and I should have gone over there and got the right. That's where the information is, right?
Yeah, that's right. I'm used to it. Don't worry about it. As long as you. Where are you? Desktop. Student. All right, if you guys go ahead and download that real quick, just because, as I said, I don't have host privileges, which I'm not sure why. Okay. So Ken, I just uploaded the PDF. Does that work for you? Yeah, got it. Cool.
Like me.
Cool. All right. Hey, Jordan.
Yeah.
Are you at the office?
No, I am not.
Okay. Well,
You want me to call Elaine?
yeah. Can you see if I went into your guys' thing, but I don't see this session, and I don't have any screen sharing privileges.
Ah.
And I'm not the host.
Who is the host?
Nobody.
No one's the host. Do you know who set it up?
Julie did.
Oh, okay. Give me 1 second.
1 second, guys. Let me see if I can. I don't know if I can do this. See if I can. I wonder if I have to log in as Julie. All right. All right, you guys stay right there. I'm going to try to log in as Julie and
Hold
see
on.
if that. What's that?
Hold on 1 second.
All right. Good morning, everybody. For those of you that don't have it, I'll put the student manual up there so you have it.
A question, Rob. So
Go ahead.
I went over on the intranet under education.
Yep.
And do you know which module it is? Is it instructor-led material or which one is it?
There should be, what I'm giving you is the student material.
Right, I know,
The-
but
the instructor looks the same too. It just has more notes in it.
and there's going to be one that says something about 6 personal perspectives.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you need me to email you, I can also email it to you too.
No, I mean, it's better that I figure out where this stuff is because then I can figure out where it is.
Oh, it's hilarious. That's why I just bring it with me because it's some of it's sometimes hard to find. All right, well, I'll start to just go over the information. So today is self-mastery, and we'll start from the very beginning. So the 6 personal perspectives, Gary discovered these when he was doing some research for the MREA. And there's a quote that he has here. What is it that differentiates those who achieve at the highest level from those who don't seem to accomplish as much? And if you have your guide, you'll see that there's three consecutive circles or attributes that he found in the successful people and kind of how they overlapped to get this individual. And with those, there was mindset, attitude, and your approach to life. And I think if you think about people that are successful, they have those 3 attributes. If you think of Elon Musk, I was just watching his thing about space travel, and he has a series right now program that I got hooked on last night. Definitely has an attitude, definitely has the mindset, and has the right approach to life to get things done. If you go a little further, if you do have your manuals, there's a little quote here that Gary had. Mindset is key. Gary has said, when you interview the very top people and ask them what their biggest challenge is, invariably they will tell you it is mindset, keeping it strong, focused, and positive amid the many challenges they encounter every day on their way to the top. Gary continues, life is an inside to the outside experience. When you get this at a deep level, you will realize that who you are inside determines and drives what you are outside. The very best achievers know this, and therefore they truly work on protecting their mindset. And completely agree with that. I mean, I've met a lot of very successful people that actually have a process of how they start their day, where they do meditation, maybe exercise, gratitude, goal setting before they even check their phone or their email. But they need to do that because if they don't have the right mindset for the day. Jordan, did you get anything on my screen sharing? I guess not. All right. So if you could, I know you guys are probably multitasking, but can you give me a thumbs up if you have the student material that I uploaded?
Yes.
Yes. Ken, do you have it?
Yes, I do.
Ramdeep, do you have it?
Yes.
Dimitri, do you have it? Okay, cool. I got you. Cool. All right. So if you guys go to page 9 in the manual, you'll see the 6 personal perspectives. Commitment to mastery, commit to the 80-20 principle, moving from E to P, make being learning based the foundation of your action plan, and removing your limiting beliefs and being accountable. So when you guys hear the word self-mastery, what comes to your mind?
Hey, Rob, sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
So I got off the phone with Elaine. It's under the education KWSC account.
Okay, so I have to log in as that?
You have to log into that one. Do
Okay.
you have that password?
I do. You guys give me like 1 minute and I'll be right back. Let's see, where's my hair? Ah, there we go. Thank you, Jordan. All right.
You are welcome. Have a good class.
All right. So we'll get to this page right here. Let me do screen share. Share. All right. Do you guys see my, there it goes. Do you guys see my PowerPoint? Cool. Thank you. I'll put that over there. Super cool. So when you hear self-mastery, what do you guys think about? What does that mean to you?
I think gonna grow within you and gonna continue doing the right thing, either commit to a goal and plan and pursue it.
Nice. Anyone else? It's okay.
I guess that means something which you want to learn by yourself, self-taught.
Super good. Thank you, Deepa. And thank you, Frank. Let's go here.
Cool.
So it's going to come up here. I'm going to nail it. I'm going to master this, right? Master whatever it is. Scripts, presentations. The more you practice, you master. Oh, I did have time. That's right. Commit to the 80-20 principle. You know, when I hear that, I'll help you guys out. I think it's an easier one. You've heard it before. You know, you focus on the 20% and not the 80%. Once the 20% is done, then you can focus on the 80%. And I think that it's important when you start each day is you really determine what that 20% is and do your best to fight for that territory.
Hello.
It's going to be.
Yeah,
Good. How are you?
good. I just realized I forgot my
I have
laptop.
someone here. Let's
But
see.
you probably have a computer with you.
Yeah,
so-
I do. Let me grab it here.
You,
Uh,
okay. I think I have the culprit. All right.
and
Next one is moving from
Actually,
E to P, entrepreneurial to purposeful. You look at that. Just being very purposeful, intentional on what you do. We'll go through all these today. I just want to give you the definition of the 6. Making being learning based the foundation of your action plan. I'm willing to be taught. I always pursue learning. I think in this business, you'll all discover that if you haven't already, that you just can't rest on your laurels. You got to keep studying. You got to keep learning. This business is changing faster now than it ever has. I was talking to a realtor the other day, like when my parents were in the business, you had a book that was like, I don't know, 100 pages long, and it had all the listings in it. And you had a contract that was like a couple pages long, a little simplistic back then. And then you had your leads, right? Now we've got all these different people that are trying to infiltrate our business and every part of the business. And then you have COVID that came up and try to, it slowed us down. So it's just, you're always having to be learning based. Or if you look at short sales, I remember when that transition took place, I called the bank. They didn't even know what a short sale was. Like they had to get back to me. They had never done a short sale before. We all had to just, we had to become from a learning base. The realtors that adjusted for that market eventually did very well. The realtors that did not all left the business, and they were leaving every week. So definitely being learning based. Removing limiting beliefs. I'm sure you guys have heard that before. I used to have a limiting belief in Santa Cruz, because I would look at them, some of the top realtors, that's how big you can get. And then I got, came to this office and I realized, no, I 10, 15 transactions. Yeah, great. But the possibility is, the first year I came here, Dave did 110 transactions. So I had a limiting belief, definitely different areas, Santa Clara and Santa Cruz, but still it opened up my mind to what's possible. And then just being accountable, in coaching or a partner, whatever that takes, just someone to hold you accountable for getting that 20% done. It's huge. All right. It's right here. All right. Give me a second, guys. Now we're going to watch a video. Let's see if I can do this correctly. And do you guys see a browser on your screen? That or that, or that. There it is. All right, can you guys give me a thumbs up? Can you see a video that says 3 things I learned while my plane crashed? If you don't see it, give me a thumbs down. Don't see it?
No, I don't see it either.
No.
All right, let me try again. How about now?
Yes.
Yes.
Cool.
Imagine big explosion as you climb through 3,000 feet. Imagine a plane full of smoke. Imagine an engine going clack, 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 clack. Sounds scary. Well, I had a unique seat that day. I was sitting in 1D. I was the only one who could talk to the flight attendants. So I looked at them right away and they said, no problem. We probably hit some birds. The pilot had already turned the plane around and we weren't that far. You could see Manhattan. 2 minutes later, 3 things happen at the same time. The pilot lines up the plane with the Hudson River. It's usually not the route. He turns off the engines. Now imagine being on a plane with no sound. And then he says 3 words, as unemotional 3 words as I've ever heard. He says, brace for impact. I didn't have to talk to the flight attendant anymore. I could see in her eyes, it was terror. Life was over. And I want to share with you 3 things I learned about myself that day. I learned that it all changes in an instant. We have this bucket list. We have these things we want to do in life. And I thought about all the people I wanted to reach out that I didn't. All the fences I wanted to mend. All the experiences I wanted to have and I never did. As I thought about that, later on, I came up with a saying, which is, I collect bad wines. Because if the wine is ready and the person is there, I'm opening it. I no longer want to postpone anything in life. And that urgency, that purpose has really changed my life. The second thing I learned that day, and this is as we clear the George Washington Bridge, which was by not a lot. I thought about, wow, I really feel one real regret. I've lived a good life. In my own humanity and mistakes, I've tried to get better at everything I've tried. But in my humanity, I also allow my ego to get in. And I regretted the time I wasted in things that did not matter with people that matter. I thought about my relationship with my wife, with my friends, with people. And after, as I reflected on that, I decided to eliminate negative energy from my life. Not perfect, it's a lot better. I've not had a fight with my wife in 2 years. It feels great. I'm no longer trying to be right. I choose to be happy. The third thing I learned, and this is as your mental clock starts going 15, 14, 13, you can see the water coming. I'm saying, please blow up, right? I don't want this thing to break in 20 pieces like you've seen in those documentaries. And as we're coming down, I had a sense of, wow, dying is not scary. It's almost like we've been preparing for it our whole lives. But it was very sad. I didn't want to go. I love my life. And that sadness really framed in one thought, which is, I only wish for one thing. I only wish I could see my kids grow up. About a month later, I was in a performance by my daughter, first grader, not much artistic talent yet. And I'm bawling, I'm crying like a little kid. And it made all the sense in the world to me. I realized at that point, by connecting those 2 dots, that the only thing that matters in my life is being a great dad. Above all, the only goal I have in life is to be a good dad. I was given the gift of a miracle of not dying that day. I was given another gift, which was to be able to see into the future and come back and live differently. I challenge you guys that are flying today. Imagine the same thing happens on your plane and Please don't. But imagine, and how would you change? What would you get done that you're waiting to get done because you think you'll be here forever? How would you change your relationships and the negative energy in them? And more than anything, are you being the best parent you can? Thank you.
Super powerful, right? Have a think about that. So that our next exercise will be, and I'll flash up in a minute, but I want you to think about it is, what 3 things in your life do you want to accomplish? And I would come from the perspective of what we just saw, where, I mean, these are important things. Like, if you died tomorrow, what are you putting off that you shouldn't? So take a minute, and then I think if you go to page like 10 or 11, I'm not even sure which it is on your student guide. Let's see. There'll be a spot for that. Yeah, page 11. No, get this set here. Go to let's go here. Go back to share. All right. Slide here. Cool. I'm learning some cool stuff. All right. Yeah, it's a good challenge. You know, what would you like to accomplish? How would you change? What would you do? What would you do that you are waiting to get done because you think you will be here forever? I need a couple volunteers. You don't have to raise your hand. You can just come right in and tell us what's one thing, 1 or 2 things that you want to accomplish.
I think gonna adapt to the new, we got so much changing rapidly, and so I feel kind of catching up with everything. So adapting to situations like right now, Corona, business, 10, 15 days, and buyers and sellers. It's very dynamic.
Thank you, Frank. How about Deepa or Ken or Deep or Dimitri or Garrett?
Not popping up anything right now in my mind. Sorry.
That's okay. That means you're pretty complete. So Deepa, what I would suggest for you is in real estate, you know, when doing this exercise, I know you're new to real estate, but yeah, like, what do you think you need to get done?
Of course, since I'm new in the real estate, I want to have a transaction.
Perfect. I think that's a very good one for a newer agent. All right, let's see if we get one more. I've got 3 people I'm staring at. I know they're there, I believe. Ken, Dimitri, Garrett. Oh, there you go.
I was gonna say I'm right there with you, Deepa. But I will for my answer. I real honesty. I have a problem with being upset with things I can't control. And learning to let that go. And I know that's a big thing that people will say is like, if you make a list of everything that's keeping you from doing what you really want to do, you write all that down and cross out anything that's not in your control, and you will succeed in the things that are left. So I am trying to do that, but I know that I'm not there yet. So this is me putting that on putting that on display.
That's good though, Garrett. You're saying it out loud, so and that helps you internalize even more. So like, this is something that I want to take care of, and I can tell you for a fact that you're not alone. But it is, as I agree. I think as you as you learn to work with that, you'll become more and more successful, and it'll help you to be even more focused. I'm gonna just do one more attempt. So Ken, Ramdeep, Dimitri, and you three, go ahead, hit me.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yep, you sound perfect, Ken.
Okay, so I just happened to come out of a 1-week retreat, so I'm probably coming at it from a slightly different perspective, but as applies to what I do in real estate, I've wrote down something called do the walk. And I think for me, that means, you know, find the path that you want to be on and stick to it. And I'm not going to go further because there's other things that you know, may not necessarily pertain to real estate. The other thing I found during my week was learning to reconcile with difficult situations and people. And the hardest, I think Garrett said something about that, is just there's things that I feel I want to do, but I just have to be okay with it and let it unfold in a way that I can be with it. So that's the way I feel I could learn more about my situation and the people that are in it. And hopefully I'll find peace in myself, and then all things will kind of come to some fruition, hopefully in a real estate way that means hitting my goals, right? So those are some of my thoughts.
Perfect. Thank you, Ken. See, Garrett, you're not alone. That's good though. It's always, I did a full paper on anxiety, and realizing, because I have like 4 or 5 of them, and realizing I wasn't alone just made it even better. Just like I'm not the only one that has these kind of issues. So, all right. So we did that. We shared our challenges. Now let's go to, let's see, where's my PowerPoint? Good, cool. All right. So we talked about our goal. We kind of talked, there was some feelings in that. So I could tell that you were feeling about what the goal, what I wanted to try to accomplish. Here's a tough one that I have to work on myself sometimes, is when looking at these goals that we talked about, and I'm sure Ramdeep and Dimitri have them too, and Deepa probably has other ones, what would your future look like if you didn't achieve your goal? That's kind of a biggie, right? Like, if I didn't, where would I go? Would I just not be in real estate anymore? Would I just, so I think it's important that you look at that. And I do the same thing when I see something that's a big challenge. I'm like, am I okay if I don't achieve this? And if I'm not, then what do I do to achieve it? Cool. We've got this section here. I think you guys have, yeah. So I think it's page 13 of your guide. When you go back and you look at some of these, it does this reality thing. I'll show you real quick. So determining what your goal is, how are you doing with your goal? How do you feel about that? And what will your future look like if you don't achieve that goal? It just becomes more internal when you put a feeling to it, and it feels more real. And I think that's important that you do that. But then also, as I said, figuring out, if I don't achieve these goals or a goal, what would my future look like if I don't achieve that? So I need to, for example, a really easy one, lead generation. My goal is to lead generate to get business, right? So if I'm doing good, I'm feeling good, and I'm achieving. But if I'm not doing it and I put it aside, then I'm not doing it, I'm not feeling good, and what my future could bring is no money. So, really look at those different things that I would say, goals that that are going to help you in your business and also in yourself, right? This is about self-mastery. The better you become a master, the more you take on this journey, because you never really truly master yourself. But the longer you go on the journey and you learn more things and you become masterful in certain aspects, your life as a whole would be more successful. So let me go back to here. Go to this one here. All right. So let me go back. It's this one here. Oh, wow, they don't have a little side for it. They don't. So when looking back on this very short chapter that we went through, what is maybe one thing that you could take away from this? And I'd like to get two answers if we could.
Well, what I'm taking notes and I'm writing things down, and I think just the concept of self-mastery lies in self-evaluation. And if you really start to think about the things that you would want to do, if you knew the day you were going to die, what are the three things you want to get done before then? If it's not tomorrow, then you have some time, and really thinking about those and really putting in the, I know we're going to get to like the big stones or whatever the way they phrase it is, but doing the little things every day that lead you to get to those bigger steps so that you can achieve the things. Because if you know yourself, you'll know what the things are you need to do to get to the person you want to be.
I like that. It's very true. And just from your conversation of what your goals are, Garrett, that's as you learn more about yourself and those things that you feel are holding you back, and you learn to work with those, you'll just become more and more successful in business as well as life, right? Because it's two things, but very much so.
That's what I hope.
It's coming. You're in the right place. You're around the right people. One more person before I move on. Such a quiet room. Hey, Ken, just because it's been a while since we've talked, do you have any insights?
I'm sorry, I'm not getting the context of what's being asked.
Sure. So we just finished this section, just kind of like on the basic concepts of not really self-mastery, but just like the 6 personal perspectives, like how we look at a goal, how we internalize it. Was there anything new? I mean, you said you just came back from a weekend of stuff, so maybe this is already stuff that you've been through. But was there any new information today, or you've pretty much have seen most of this?
Well, I'm kind of. Yes, I've seen some of it, but no, I haven't. So the thing I realized, I guess, is that even though you know something, and it's silly, I think, to assume that you know it all. And I think that has been huge for me because I get stuck a lot. And when that happens, I burrow down even further, and I don't realize I'm sort of rut or pattern. So I think that's the thing. As we get more familiar with something, I think that could some ways hinder your ability to see something new, and that's where I have to be more present, I think, as I get into a situation that looks and smells familiar, right? So
Perfect.
Is that okay?
Yeah. Thanks, Ken. All right. Let's go on to a little more in the self-mastery. So self-mastery is defined in this presentation: the possession of great knowledge, skills, and habits that make you the master of you. So when you commit to achieving self-mastery, you know your goals, you know your strengths and your weaknesses, you know how to work with both your strengths and your weaknesses to reach your goal. I'm in awe because that's if when you get to that point, that's huge, right? Because you know what your strengths and weaknesses are, you know how to work with them, and allows you to either move those weaknesses out of the way or whatever you have to do to leverage your strengths to get there.
I want to add something here
Go ahead,
about the
please.
goal. Yeah, I guess for me, what it works best for me is have the goals which are achievable. Like if you have the goals which is very highly impossible, then you will not be motivated. But having the small goals which are achievable, then you get motivated and you arrange for the more goals in future.
I like that, Deepa. It's very true. It's very true. Those little goals, yeah, if you can chunk it up and just get those done, it just makes it so much more. Like I remember years ago, I had this goal of doing $300,000 in business when I was averaging $100,000 a year during the recession. And it was due to price point and my own self-limiting beliefs, it was too far. The goal was just like, it was like a made up goal, where if I had made one that was high, but not that high that I could have felt, I could have reached, I probably would have got there. And that actually is what happened. I went down to 2 and I got to 2 the next year. So, but I think it's got to be something that's stretches you, but achievable. So, and then from there, like you were saying, I had to break down it into small chunks of things to accomplish to get there. And so if I didn't break those small chunks down, I wouldn't have got there because I wouldn't know where. I just need more direction. So yeah, the little goals are huge. Mastery is the possession of great knowledge, skills, and habits that make one the master of a particular subject. Great book, Outliers. Have you guys read that book? Can you give me a thumbs up if you read it? I don't think there was thumbs down.
No, Rob.
Go ahead.
I said I have not read that book.
Okay. It's a good read if you guys ever get a chance to read it. There is a section here, and I think it's even in your paperwork that they talk about. Give me a second here. I'm gonna look and see. So make sure you guys have this context also. Okay. So I think it's on page 17 near the bottom. In the book Outliers, author Malcolm Gladwell claims that the key to mastery in any field is roughly 10,000 hours of practice. According to his research, practice is more critical to success than ambition, intelligence, and natural talent. A commitment to true mastery would only be achieved by taking a class on the subject or even reading a few books about it, but rather a repetitive practice, in other words, time on task over time. How do you guys feel about that? Have you heard that before?
I can add a little bit of just like the more open house I've been having, and the more comfortable I'm becoming, and kind of before I wanted to read everything about it, but now I feel, more confidence. I know what to ask, more direct to it, and kind of ask more questions as well.
Agreed, Frank, because you're not going to get any better open houses if you don't do them. You can read about them, you can take classes on them, but until you're there and you feel it and you practice, you won't get any better. But as you practice more and more and you go, you'll get better and better, and then you'll get more leads. So I completely agree with you. Thank you. That's a great example.
Nice.
Anybody else have an example like that? Quiet class. All right.
I'll use a personal example. It's not a pull
Perfect.
from my very fresh real estate career. I've played music my whole life. I play the drums in a band, and I've played for about 15 years. But in the last 6 years, I went from playing maybe once a month out with people to, in 2018, I played 87 nights. I went and I was playing every weekend. We were playing every weekend, and the relationship I have with the instrument changed when you start doing it, and you have to know what your body can handle playing for 4 hours versus, playing for 20 minutes casually. And I know that, it's a niche example, but it's definitely proof that you can learn how to do something. And until you're doing it with, like it's saying, time after time, and really measuring the way that you do something changes the way that you do it.
Completely agree with you. Completely. Same thing. I did play music for a long time. I haven't played in 3 decades, but when I did play, I played for 4 years, 4 or 5 years, but I played every day. And I didn't master the piano, but I was really good where I didn't have to look at my fingers. I could read a sheet of music. But then, if you don't practice, like I have in 3 decades, if I went back to the piano, I could probably start it up again I'd be a little further ahead than someone who hasn't, but still, because I haven't practiced, same thing with, open houses. When COVID hit, there was no open houses for a long time. And so, when we were allowed to do open houses again, some people had to dust off the books. They had to like redo their scripts. They had to, re-practice again, because it was a different, it's just a different era of time, or season of time. And also they hadn't done it in a while, but yeah, you're right on, Garrett. Frank, same thing. So that's definitely self-mastery is repetition. If you look at golf players, professional golf players hit so many balls, it's ridiculous, right? But it's just that consistency in by them doing that so much that their accuracy increases significantly. So, and music is another perfect example. And they talk about, I think that both those outliers, I can't remember. It's been a while since I read the book, but it was really good. All right. Let's go back to this one. So putting the pieces together to achieve self-mastery. We will do this. And give me a second here. I want to make sure. Do you guys see a guy on the screen? Can you give me a thumbs up if you do, with glasses? Okay, thanks, guy.
Yes.
Cool.
G'day, I'm Bruce Hardy, and I'm committing to self-mastery. This
Sorry, that was the wrong button.
is one of the main 6 perspectives that I think we all need to focus on, particularly if we want to take our business and our lives to the highest level. When I was younger and lived in Australia, a good friend of mine was a black belt in karate. He invited me to participate in karate, so I joined. I was a white belt. And after about 6 weeks or so, we were one day practicing sparring. And it was interesting because we were throwing a punch, relatively simple, straightforward punch. We both knew how to do it. The idea was that you would throw the punch and you would stop 2 inches from the other person's face. So my friend, the black belt, would do it, and he would snap, his gi would snap, and I had wind hitting me in the face, and it was just beautiful the way he threw it. Then it was my turn, and I got down and I went whack, and I watched my friend fall to the floor because I hit him instead of stopping 2 inches in front of his face. We both knew how to do it. He'd mastered it, I had not. I will tell you, I brought the same approach to my real estate business. I realized my focus had to be on listings. And what I did was, by focusing on my listing presentation, practicing over and over and over again, I was able to list over 250 homes a year. There's a wonderful saying out there, and that is, amateurs practice to get it right, professionals practice to never get it wrong. My question to you, are you an amateur or are you a professional? Commit to self-mastery.
What are your takeaways from that, you guys and gals?
That was so simply put, but so spot on. That last little bit, the amateurs practice to get it right and the professionals practice to never get it wrong. I like that a lot.
I completely agree with you, Garrett. Whenever I hear it, it's something that I just want to continue to internalize, because when you practice, think about it. Are you just practicing it just to get the basics of it? Or are you practicing it to master it? Gary talks about that too, where, don't change the scripts, learn them, master them, then make changes, right? Once you get a good feel and a flow, because there's a reason why the script goes the way it does. But mastering it so that it's just like your music, you could practice and be okay, or you can continually practice to the intention to master. And then by doing that, you become better. And then when you perform like you did, I'm sure you got better and better. And, it was even more enjoyable, right?
Like in music, as in sports, like you practice to do it right once, and then you have to keep practicing so that when someone's, I never really played sports, but if like football plays, I see the organizational patterns that they use, and it's like, if you don't have that so in your brain that everyone knows where you're going to be, you're not going to be there when they need you there, and you're going to fall short.
Great example. You'll see it even in professionals, like you'll see the quarterback throw the ball and you're like, who the hell was he throwing it to? But either he or the receiver probably ran the wrong pattern, or the quarterback forgot. Most likely the receiver ran the wrong pattern, like he went to the left and she went right. And that's why the ball went to nobody on the right, because the quarterback's expectation is we've mastered these plays. That's where you're supposed to be. So yeah, it's totally true, Gary. And, I tell my son and his friends that like, how you practice is how you play. It's cliche, but it's true. If you practice to excel and master, you will play well at the game. If you just practice just to fumble around, or goof around, you're not going to play well, So I think they got it. We'll see. Good. That was a great takeaway. Anybody else? All right. Let's go back to okay. Something to think about, because we talked about a couple goals and more personal, which is perfect, because this is about self-mastery. It's not necessarily about real estate 101, or else it would have been called that. When you think of the goals that you guys wrote down, even the ones that didn't chime in, look for 3 obstacles that may hinder you from achieving that goal. We're not going to discuss with a partner, but for a moment, we'll just kind of have you just give us one of those things. But so everybody take a moment and just, I think it's important that you know these things, because it's going to help you move forward, because you're already going to know what the rocks are that are in your way. And let's change the view here. I actually like this better. So in your user guide on page 19, it talks about putting the pieces together to achieve self-mastery. And the goal, as you can see, the goal is mastering prospecting, right? The next step is to identify the strengths and weaknesses when prospecting. Strength, good with people. Weakness, uncomfortable bringing up business. Plan, practice scripts. Take a class like Bold. Then call on your sphere of influence, right? Because if you're good with people and you master your weakness, or you learn to work with it, about the uncomfortableness, it changes the tone of your calls, and then you're comfortable reaching out to your sphere to create business. Once you master that, I would say the next thing is getting referrals from past clients, right? Because once you're good with people and you're comfortable bringing up business, you'll be comfortable also bringing up referrals. So when looking at this, and let's talk about prospecting, what are some weaknesses people have with prospecting? I've got 6 people here, so I'm sure Garrett's getting tired, doesn't want to talk anymore.
I'll still go. I just want to make sure there's room for everybody else.
I'll let you speak to Gary. I think I can add a little bit. I think since maybe I'm too relative new or something, I'm kind of, like you say, I feel a little less confident. So kind of touches a little bit uncomfortable, bring it up, say, hey, can you sign the buyer contract? I'm ready to make an offer, and how you feel with the property directly. Let's write up an offer. So I think it's the steps,
Totally, Frank. I mean, it's very normal, especially as a newer agent, when the contract for a buyer, or even the listing presentation, or the signing of a listing contract for a listing for $2 million or something like that. It can be uncomfortable, and the confidence takes time of just doing them over and over again. And then that will help achieve that weakness. And there's a saying somewhere, I don't know the exact saying, but basically, the more you work on your weaknesses, you will overcome them. So say, for example, you have a weakness on the phone, then the next thing you should do is get on the dang phone and do it to the point where you don't care anymore. And then we care, but you build that muscle in your system.
I agree.
Ken or Garrett, I know Garrett's ready to go.
Something that I've said I want to do and I still haven't done it, which, you know, is part of this process, is get out and go door knocking. And I know that the people that are in my phone, the people that live in here, are 99% not gonna buy in this area. Doesn't mean I can't help them in some other way down the road, but it's the people that I have access to where I live. You know, I know that there are barriers, there are reasons why I wouldn't be the best person for them to see and want to work with, whatever they may be. That's not what I'm worried about. It's more just, you know, actually walking out my door and going up to, you know, 15, 20 doors and seeing what happens, because I haven't done it yet. So I don't know that there's going to be a negative reaction. It's not really it's not a limiting belief. It's more just, I haven't done it yet. So I don't know what I don't know.
That's perfect, Garrett. And I'll tell you, I'm a chicken when it comes to that. I tried like 4 years ago to go door knocking. I can do it with a partner. My own brain just won't. And it's my own self. It's my non-self mastery that doesn't allow me to go and door knock. But I can do an open house all day long, you know? What I was going to suggest, Garrett, just really quickly as a quick side note, if you email me later, if you haven't seen it, I have Brian Porter from my office did a great class on door knocking. I had the presentation as well as the video. I'll send it to you.
So I was in Ignite, and he was one of our, he was actually a big part of, you know, getting out and going and doing it.
Perfect.
I feel like he and I, you know, similar young man going by himself in similar areas. I actually, he was a big influence just recently.
Cool.
On me wanting to do it, because I've talked to people about, you know, I think Renee said, like, it's easier for women to get people to answer the door for, you know, XYZ, but I watching Brian's Ignite class was definitely like, I need to get out and do that, and you can tell him that. I
will. I'll see him later today. I'll let him know. Thank you. No, he did an hour and 10, 15-minute class on door knocking, and his conversation with us is he'd rather door knock than call somebody on the phone. Like, he felt like that hang up was worse than someone. And he'll tell you, I think he had maybe a couple of people that were rude, but they were rude. They didn't scare him, you know? So if I ever go back to real estate, I'm going to have to do a door knocking just because I need to go, okay, I can do this. So now that we've talked about some weaknesses, what do you think your strengths are with prospecting?
I think for me, I can take rejection better. So that is my strength, I will say, because in the real estate, initially, you are not going to get a positive response. So be prepared to get rejected. As Gary mentioned that people are going to be rude. So initially, so we have to take that in a positive way.
That's a huge strength, Deepa, being able to take rejection, because there's a lot of rejection in real estate. So being able to sift through that, thank you for that. It's gonna save you in some instances where other people say, forget it. So it's figuring out the strengths, figuring out the weaknesses, or those obstacles that get in your way, and then from that create a plan. Like, for example, if it was door knocking, practice scripts, you know, see who's done it before, talk to them about it, learn what they're doing. That's like taking a class, like taking Brian's class. If before I go door knocking, I would just rewatch this class and go through it. Okay, what did Brian do? He did this, he prepared like this, and these were the scripts he used. And then from that, now I've practiced, now I've learned, then I would go do it. And then from that, I would get my results, which Brian has too, he got to the point where he knew how many doors he needed to knock to get a listing. So that's because he held himself accountable to like how many doors he did a day and what his results were. So that accountability piece is huge, or keeping track. All right. Let's go to next slide. So we talked about this. I think we pretty much talked about like how to overcome those weaknesses, because there was just a couple that we had. So. Sorry, you guys are, we just double check, make sure I didn't miss anything. So the last suggestion is on page 25 is evaluate your takeaways. You know, those goals that you had, or limiting beliefs that you had, and come up with a step-by-step plan to overcome those. And then that way, like Deepa had said, you know, just small goals, small, you know, steps forward will get you to where that ultimate goal is. So yeah, so I finished an hour early. What are some of your takeaways from this last section? Give me two takeaways for this last session.
So the one thing that I heard in the karate guy's talk, the first thing that he said is that he is committing to self-mastery. And it says it right on this slide, is that it's not just like understanding and then moving on. It's a commitment to, like, I have a page of notes that I took today just on things that I already know that I want to work on, that I don't spend enough time actively thinking about. So I think that's what I'm going to take away, is that I should do this on a monthly basis. And then, you know, I know that there's on like the 411, there's the personal side that I usually don't fill out, but like maybe without doing it on a spreadsheet so that the world can see, I know that accountability is part of it too, but I should be doing this just to keep myself motivated to get to, like, because I wrote down, you know, personal goals, professional goals, and then like physical goals.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think that breaking it down into those three areas and looking at this regularly would really help me. So that's my aha today.
Perfect, Gary. You know, there was some class I was taking where the group would, for their year goal, they would take, I think, 2 days off in a year, near the end of the year, planning out the next year. Then once a month, they would take half a day and they would look at how the month went and then what their goals were moving forward to the next month. And then every week they would take one day, probably like a Monday or Sunday, and spend 1 hour going through their list of what they're going to accomplish for that week. And then they even broke it down by day. But like, I completely agree with what you're saying. It's just some sort of system that allows you to, you know, continue to master these things and get them off your checklist, you know, or continually get better and better at them. I mean, and I would say a goal for you is pick 1 or 2 and then just go after those right now. You know, like within the next 24, 40 hours, if you're at a Tony Robbins thing, he says, I think within the next 2 hours, you know, just take some action towards that goal that you want to accomplish for the month, and that will get the momentum going. Anyone else? Give me one more person. Deepa.
I think that the practice, what I've learned from this is you have to practice a lot, like your buyer presentation, seller presentation. When you go to meet any buyer seller, be prepared. You have to be educated to the buyer or seller. If they have any additional questions, of course, you can let them know that you will get back to them. But at least for the initial presentation, you have to be prepared.
I completely agree, Deepa. And you will hear in some of the other classes, as you take more KW classes, they talk about that. You know, don't practice on your clients. practice now, yes, so that way you're not practicing on them, right?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, you guys. Well, thank you so much for coming to class today. Sorry about some of the technical difficulties initially. And if you ever have any questions, I didn't do my intro. I'm the team leader over here in Silicon Valley. Always feel free to reach out, shoot me an email or text, and I can just, whatever I can do to help. I know most of you are my agents, but Garrett, if there's anything I do to help you, just let me know.
Cool. Good job.
Thank you.
Hey, hey, Rob, could you
Yes,
hang
sir.
on for a bit after?
Good. Sure. So go ahead. You guys can go ahead and just drop off, and then I'll